Hi, I'm Andrew Armstrong and welcome to the back office. Look at this. Yes, indeedy. That is a fidget spinner of sorts. I made it myself. You can see I'm a bit gross. I've just sort of come home from work, tired, wanted to try something, and I saw this thing, fidget spinner, kids playing with it, and I noticed they use ball bearings. Just a sort of standard, I don't know what they call them, ABEC 5 ball bearings you have lying around, using skateboards, roller skates, roller blades, everything, machine tools. I have loads of these. I have bags of these. So I thought, yeah, let's put two and two together. So I got myself a piece of wood, and I'll be showing you how to do this later, so don't worry about the detail. I got myself a piece of wood and just a couple of hole boring bits, because I had a look at my old 3D printer up there, you can see it just about, and I thought, nah, can't be arsed, I'm just going to make something. So that's what I made. So basically, these ball bearings on the outside, these racers, really just add weight. I think they're just there to add weight to this thing to give it a bit more volume. I mean, you could just put lumps of steel if you want. And then in the middle, I've just got another one. That's the one it spins around. I've put a bolt in because the only wood I had was this really thick plywood, which is way too thick, really. But, you know, because you can't really touch the bits. But if you look at the actual legit fidget spinners, they actually have little caps over the middle so that the bearing is supported, and that's basically what you end up with. And look, it just works really well. And the problem is, if you do make one, you just can't stop fidgeting with it, and I think that's probably part of it. So there you go. For a piece of wood, a few bearings and a bolt, nut and bolt, you can just make your own one. I'm going to show you how to do that right now. For this project, you'll need a piece of wood, a ruler, some ball bearing racers. You can get these on eBay if you haven't got any, or from roller skates, to make your spinner, and of course a pen. Now you can choose different designs. When you see them online or on the shops or whatever, you see a design with three, and I think the reason you've got three is that if you have this shape like that, see this gap here? If you've got kids, they can't use this because their hands are too small and it'll hit their hands. So I think the way they've got around that is by making these spinners with three. So we could try doing that now. It's the same sort of process, really. So all you need is something in the middle and then something all around it. So if you're going to do, oh, look at that, it's kind of a little bit more complicated, a bit more cutting out for me to do. But what you've got to do is make sure that there's enough gap in between these so that when you'll see how we're going to do it. We're going to use a wooden sort of hole cutting bit. You need to make sure that they're not going to hit each other, because if you try to drill the holes too near each other, they'll join. So that's going to be a problem for you. So first things first, let's just make, really sort of screwed myself, to be honest with you, doing the three right now, but that's fine. Let's just decide where one of the edges is going to be, and we're going to mark that there, like so. And then we're going to have to choose a middle point. So we can just roughly put it where we want. Like if we just say we're going to roughly do it that looks about right, doesn't it? Something like that. So if we take that away, probably a jump cut there just to show you. I actually did find one of these. You can see my measurements there. I'm going to start again just to briefly show you what's going on here. So you've got to start somewhere in the middle. So you've got to work out where your middle point is. If we're going to say that's the middle, and then we're going to do 120 degrees basically. So you can mark out a line straight up. That's going to be your reference. And then take your protractor, I believe it's called. I haven't used one for a number of years. Mark off your first 120 degrees, which is there. Just like that. And then from there, we're going to mark off the next 120 degrees. So if you count round, you can see there's 120 degrees. Right there, just on the edge. So I'll zoom in a moment, don't worry, I'm going to show you what we're up to here. Close style. Close styly. So there you go, it looks like a crazy 3D thing, but effectively it's a measured version of what we were doing up here. So, you know, you can do it ghetto like this if you want, and that'll work fine too. But seeing as I kind of got the you know, implements, it doesn't really make sense for me not to measure it at this point. Trust me, cutting out and drilling is the bit that's going to take the time. So there's 3 centimeters. So those of you playing at home, I'm going to put 3 centimeters here so you can see from the center point to that. So that's it, that's good. So what we need to do now is we're going to take these sort of paddle hole cutting bits, and I'm going to show you why. This is quite thick material. In fact, it doesn't need to be this thick though for this project. You could do it with much thinner stuff if you want to. But what I'm going to do is, if you can imagine, this is the thickness of the board, like that, here. I'm going to take the fat bit, which is the 22, and I'm going to drill this out to, say, I don't know, somewhere like here. I'm not sure on the depth entirely. Yeah, you can imagine you're going through there. And then I'm going to take the 19mm and drill up from the bottom, so you end up with that sort of shape. And the reason is that way then you can push your bearing in and it will sit in there and it will be retained. It will be retained by that. So I can show you actually quite clearly on this. You can see the bearing's going in from the front, but on the back it's a smaller hole, so the bearing can't push through no matter how hard you push. And that keeps it locked in, ready to go. So for this you'll need your trusty drill, and I'm going to take the camera right out and see if I can show you doing this. I'd normally go over to the bench, but I'm not gonna. I'm gonna do it here. Oh, there is a bit of a risk, of course, though. I might go through and penetrate our back office board with that. Have my piece of wood now, sacrificial piece of wood to save the bench. So let's start with the middle one, seeing as it's kind of the middlest of them all. Now I'm going to try to do this as vertically as possible. Also, I kind of want to show you what I'm up to, so I might just obscure you. Whoa. Make sure that's in right first, so that doesn't help, of course. Okay. I'm instantly regretting doing this on my bench rather than taking it outside. I've got wood everywhere, thus forcing myself to clean up the back office soon enough. So just check this out now. I'm going to check it for depth. You can ream this out a little bit deeper later if you have to, but I think that's about right. So just sort of show you how deep that is. That's pretty deep. You could measure it depending on your material, of course. It's going to vary. But so what I'm going to do, I quite like that depth. So I'm going to just take the bit now and I'm just going to mark it with a pen. That way. That way I can see when I do the other holes how far I've gone. So let's just rattle on with those. In fact, I'm just going to take these out and do those outside. The mess. Right, so there we go. That's the well, I say 3, 4. I don't know why I don't count that middle one. My brain will not let me count the middle one. So that's kind of what it's going to be like a bit. So you can imagine how that's going to look. Now, before we trace around here with a shape we're going to cut out, I advise you to drill out the backs. So if we get the same sort of setup with our drill, and I feel that it's going to be less messy, so I'm going to do that here to show you. Let's get the camera zoomed out. Funny enough, I do have a drill press out there, but I still did it by hand, so slightly wonky on one of those, but that's fine. These ones should be a lot easier. Let's see. Straight through. Yes, all done. So there will be a bit of cleanup though, you can see that there. What I like to do is just take the other bit, the other tool, oh it's really hot, and just sort of gently by hand, just twist that in there. You'll clean that hole out. You'll get there, don't worry, it'll take time. And if you've got one, actually a file was pretty good too. Do a bit of filing, a bit of sanding, you know. You can finish these as nicely or as lazily as you want. Clearly for me, lazily will work out just fine for the purposes of this video. So when we push these through now, they'll go through only so far. I know that they're full of crap at the minute, but yes. Pretend that crap's not there. There is a ledge in there. There's a genuine ledge, and you can see that they'll only go so far. So far, so good. We'll worry about that later though, because we really want to just get done with all the cutting. And you can see, I'm probably not going to be able to do it on this, but here I actually cut these bits too. So let's get our pen and let's decide what sort of shape we're going to do. I think we'll do something. In fact, let's get this, shall we? Should we do a sort of 5mm-ish thing around to about here? Again, I'm just doing it all by eye. You can do it properly. In fact, if you're smart, unlike me, which you can see this line is out, if you're smart, you can actually just print this, couldn't you? You could print it as a template, design it up on your PC, get it out on your bit of wood, and you'll be done. So my vision is going to be something like this. It's not particularly exciting shape, but it'll work. Yeah, boy, look at that. Spin-tastic. So I can cut that out and then smooth around it. Bit fat here, bit thin there. We'll worry about that later. So just going to take this over to the saw and I'm going to cut through that. Yeah! So after fiddling around with it, that's what I have ended up with. And it's not great, it's not particularly smooth, and I haven't taken the care to taper the ends like this, but frankly you'll have a lot more time than I have to do this, and you'll do a proper job, not a horrible job. But you know, I just want to get it working. I'm giving you the tools to show you how to make them so you can make them better than me. So in order to get these in here now, we've got the option, we can use this sort of fancy foam 3M style tape, or my personal favourite is just to use this kind of duct tape, whatever you want to call it. So for the ones on the outside, they don't need to spin, so you can really, it's up to you. If you want, you can do this right. For now, I'm just going to jam them in like that. Yeah, because I don't really need them to spin, but if you'd like them to be able to fidget with them and flick this around, you'll want to be able to get those spinning too. But I'll show you the technique for the spinning ones. So I'm just going to pop these in, all kind of rather temporary, into here. So you need the tape just to sort of bind them in a bit because they're quite loose. Remember, you're dealing with a woodworking bit that's got a pretty bad tolerance, so get that in like that. And we can trim those edges away, but I'm just going to stuff them in for now. So we want to take more care of this one because this one actually has to work and it has to spin. So I'm going to take some care, not a massive amount, but I'm just basically going to run duct tape around the edge. So you just want to have the hole in the middle exposed and available. So I'm going to pop that in like that. Let's see if that's a reasonable fit. Yeah, it's actually not a bad fit at all. And we need to make the cap. So I'm going to get some hardware from another part of the back office, just on the shelf. Cheapo Duratools nuts and bolts set from the market. Find one that fits, that one fits, and I'm just going to put a nut on the bolt all the way up. Pop that through like that, and then just put, I'm going to put 2 bolts. Just that happens to be the right sort of spacing for this from the other side. Actually, didn't do a great job of that, did I? Might need to ream that out a bit. Look, it's just a bit crappy, but let's just give it a quick test because I think the bearing's in pretty loose too. So this is just really a first pass. Ooh, yeah, I think that's going to do the trick. Actually, that works pretty well. Yeah, surprisingly well. So I'm going to pop that through, and you can see the bearing there didn't really hold in very well, and we need to clean this hole. I'm just going to see if I can just crudely resort to this blade for now. Again, doing it properly is a lot easier than doing it the way I'm doing it, right? So if you're going to do this, do it right. Do it on your workbench. And be very careful if you're using a knife like this, so you're not really getting it, moving the blade towards you, so you're going to cut yourself. So let's have another go now. Let's just pop this in. Now there is a little trick. If you're using these bearings, you might find it seems a bit slower than you expect. Look at that. I'm doing such a bad job with this tape. you're finding it slower than you expected, and there's a really good reason to that. That's because these bearings are made for proper machine tools and big loads, not just flopping around a few grams of wood or plastic. So they're actually full of grease, so they could actually survive in that environment. So you need to kind of get rid of that grease, and to do that I would advise a spray type lubricant, and I have a spray type lubricant with me here, so we'll just show you the before and after with the lubricant. So we'll pop that through. Again, not quite what we'd like, but yeah, look at that, it's working, right? So that's spinning pretty pleasantly. But if we take the lube now, and this is a silicone based lube, but it's even better if you use an oil based one like WD-40 or whatever. Other lubes are available, of course, but yeah, look at this now. Woohoo! And that's it, really. That's your spinner. Don't know if you can do some dual spinning. No, you can't. Maybe one spinner can start another spinner. But yeah, isn't that cool? And that's it, really. I mean, that's in essence the spinner. Now it's up to you. If you want to, you can try to now take this edge off so you get this sort of tapered finish, or do a much better taper than that. Make it nice and thin, sand it down, paint it up. You know, the world is your oyster when it comes to these. You can just do whatever designs you like on it. You know, I'm going to just try doing a really dark blob here, and you'll see why. The reason why is that when I spin it, I want to see if I get a circle, like a dark circle. Ready? Yeah, it's not really visible. But yeah. So I hope that's been of some use to you. Again, it was a very quick and nasty project, I know. But how often do you get to see me making something from scratch on a whim? And that seems to be sort of 10 minutes well spent, actually. And they're quite addictive, by the way. Once you've got them, they you just can't really put them down. I might go to the next stage actually, just epoxy resin the center ones in, just to make sure they're super in, but that's fine. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. Where can it go? So please like, subscribe and share if you're that way inclined. Please comment down below. I'd love to hear your opinions on these spinners and if you've made any yourself. And as ever, thanks for watching.